Welcome to My Tech Opinion, episode 13. My name is Phil Edwards and I'm in Melbourne. And joining me in a moment will be my regular co-host in Perth, Shayne Johnston. In this episode, in our feature topic, we'll look at online shopping from an Australian context and some of the things that you need to consider. So let's get the show underway now. And welcome back to My Tech Opinion, episode 13. My name is Phil Edwards, as I mentioned before, and I'm in Melbourne. And I'm joined by my regular co-host in Perth, Shayne Johnston. G'day, Shayne. How are you?
I'm well, Phil. Yourself?
Excellent, excellent. You said to me off air that for those who are superstitious, this shouldn't be episode 13. It should be episode 12.5. So we'll let people make that decision for themselves, but probably not a bad idea. Yeah, it's all good. Before we get stuck into it, My Tech Opinion is brought to you by Aussie Tech Heads Web Hosting. For great hosting plans and support, visit athwebhosting.com.au. For those who haven't caught the show before, My Tech Opinion is a podcast that looks at a feature topic each episode. And it won't be just us. Where possible, we'll also have guests take part that will lend their expertise to our discussion of the feature topic. In our last episode, we had Daniel Olivares from ozpodcast.com.au, which was a good episode. That said, this episode's feature topic is looking at shopping, online shopping, and from an Australian perspective, and also some of the things that would happen when you shop outside of Australia as well. And we'll also look at, very briefly, the with a level of caution as in terms of tax advice, the changes to the GST for goods being imported into Australia. So there you go. That's what we're touching on this episode. That said, since our last episode, Shayne, how have you been?
Yeah, pretty good. What's exciting things have been happening? I mentioned that I locked in the AFL, so that's all happening, all paid for and all that kind of stuff. And West Coast Eagles are doing the right thing by me and continue to win.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Good to hear, I think. My team's having a bit of a topsy-turvy year, but that's okay.
You guys won this week.
Yeah, but we've got to give other people a chance after winning three premierships in a row. So, I just rub it in. Yeah. One of those was against the West Coast Eagles too, which I was there to watch. It was exciting.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Anyway, no, that's good. Well, I'm glad that you've got it all sorted. We might even get an episode in side by side rather than on the other sides of the country, so which is good. From myself, I pre-ordered my NBN connection this week.
Wow.
So it's only, from the point of when we're recording this, it's only 12 days away. Fingers crossed. Touch wood, all that sort of thing. So hopefully it's there's no more delays and it all gets turned on correctly and I'm in the right service class and all that sort of thing. But I'm getting very excited for it.
Are you because you said last time that to even cut it down even kind of quicker, you were actually going to go out and get the modem yourself. Are you still doing that?
Maybe. We'll just see what workload's like.
Oh.
A few things on at the moment, but I would desperately like to get that connection going. So we'll work that out. So it's all good.
Yeah.
So I'll keep everyone up to date. Hopefully that when it is connected, we'll have a very nice, clear vision between the two of us, which will be good.
Yeah. Hey, before we get right into it, one thing I have done since the last episode, and I think you've done it as well. Have you seen the Solo movie?
Yes, I have seen the Solo movie.
Out of 10, what do you reckon?
6, maybe 7. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not a diehard fan, and I haven't read the books and the comics and all that kind of stuff, so I only know really the main story. So, I don't know. I'm aware of this concept of what's canon and what's not canon, but I'm not like a diehard fan. So as a standalone movie, I enjoyed it.
So my understanding is, and I'm a person that's interested, but I am not a book reader in terms of novelizations and things like that. Basically, when Lucasfilm was bought out by Disney, Disney said anything in the books or the comics up to that point is gone.
All right.
It's no longer canon. The movies remain canon, and I think that the Star Wars Rebels and the Clone Wars animated movie and series are canon. And there is a character that features prominently in the, I need to be careful for those who haven't seen it, that features prominently in the Rebels series, who makes a cameo at the end. That's the nicest way to put it.
Yes.
Without giving too much away.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I haven't watched Rebels, I went, oh, that surprised me that character appeared. And my friend who has watched it all went, oh yeah, no, they were in Rebels, and here's the backstory. So yeah, it's a bit of coverage off on that, but yeah, look, it was it wasn't a bad movie. But it was a lot of retconning, just making things fit into that universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, and I don't know if I think part of my issue is I might have had movie fatigue.
Yeah.
Because I'd also had seen Deadpool only a week earlier. Then I saw Infinity War a couple of weeks before that. And there just seems to be a procession of a lot of movies coming out at one time.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of had they have released it in December, as they've done with the other Star Wars films, then I probably would have been a bit more enthusiastic about it.
Yep.
I know that sounds weird. And the interesting thing is that they were supposed to be releasing episode 9 in May next year, but because Colin Trevorrow had left the project and J.J. Abrams came back, J.J. said, I need another 6 months.
Yep.
So they're now making it happen in December 2019. So they've kept a 2-year gap between them. And I think that's a smart move. It's a very smart move.
So when does the Obi-Wan movie come out?
They haven't even officially announced that yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, because I've seen stuff on the internet and stuff.
Yeah. No. So, what do you call it? The actor... Ewan McGregor has said he would be keen to go back, but they haven't announced anything.
Oh.
I think that the Boba Fett movie is going to be the next Star Wars, a Star Wars story film.
That's weird, because he isn't really a main character, though, is he?
Boba Fett. No, but he's, that's just gone nuts.
Yeah.
For a character who didn't really do a lot in the original trilogy and died... he's got Boba Fett's got a bit of a a fan base.
Yeah, like a cult following.
But anyway. So yeah, that was Solo. So I recommend people go and see it, but I just think that they released it at the wrong time of year. That's my opinion. So there you go.
Yeah.
So
back to our regular program.
Yeah. We for those who listened to our last episode, we've changed things up a bit. We're not doing a heap of news stories, but we're sort of touching on one. And this week, weirdly enough, it will lead into our main topic, and that's the realization this week, or the announcement this week, that as of the 1st of July 2000, and this is really going to impact Australian people, but as of the 1st of July 2018. Amazon will block Australian shoppers from access. This is a quote, and I've got a lot to unpack on this. Will block Australian shoppers from accessing its US and UK marketplace from July when new GST changes come into effect. The barring of access alone will slash the product range available to the Australian consumers by a massive 90%. Amazon US lists about 500 million products compared to just 64 million on Amazon.com.au. Amazon Australia confirmed that from July 1, consumers will be directed from any international Amazon website, including Amazon US and UK, to the Amazon Australian marketplace. and they cited it as a move. The site of the move is a direct result of Australian changes to Australian GST law. So what that law is that it requires, which I don't really get it, but anyway, it requires retailers to register, overseas retailers who are selling products into Australia to register for GST and collect 10% on purchases. And if they don't, then when the product's imported into the country, then GST will have to be collected at that point. And that's providing they meet certain threshold deals. So if you're a Etsy seller in America and you sell an iPad case into Australia for $20, then you wouldn't need to register for GST. The person may have to get it coming back, like they may have to pay for it coming into the country, but the business selling it wouldn't have to be, and I don't know how they're going to police it. But the reason why they're doing it is because since the GST came in Australia since 2000, and it's now 2018, if you had a purchase of under $1,000 declared coming into the country, then GST was not applicable on that. And the retailers, such as Jerry Harvey in particular, and a few others, lobbied the government to change the limit. Instead of it being $500 or $200, it's now $0.
Oh, right.
So if it's a taxable good, it's a taxable good. Now, obviously, I will sound very vague when I say this, but it's quite clear, is that the opinions that I state during this particular program are that of myself and not my full-time employer. So we'll just make that clear. Yeah. Without saying too much.
We're not financial advisors or accountants.
Yeah, and if you need to seek tax advice, speak to a certified professional. This is not tax advice by any means of the imagination. No. So we'll make that disclaimer out there for numbers of reasons. So that's why they've done it. Now, does it impact you, Shayne? Do you buy? Even though Amazon have the Australian website, do you buy stuff from Amazon US?
No, I've never bought anything from Amazon. I think you could probably count on one hand the amount of things I have bought online altogether since I've been using the internet. I buy. Having said that, I buy stuff related to my disability, regularly. But that's an Australian kind of medical site, and I have to get it online because I just can't get the stuff from anywhere else. But yeah, I've been even online banking. I was kind of I was late to the game. The tap and go stuff, I was late to the game purely because I was just didn't trust the technology from out of the box. I just wanted people to other people to get burnt by it first.
Fair enough. Personally, the thing about what Amazon have done, with part of their announcement, they stated that they would open up a global marketplace to Australian Amazon users. And that, in a sense, doesn't bother me. So I think that's a good move. So what they're doing is saying, well, we've got a group of products that we will sell to you from our other international stores, but you just have to buy them through the Australian website because of our tax obligations. I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. Mm-hmm. Now, in my case, this is a weird product to buy, I know. No, it's not a weird product to buy. It's a weird product to be so specific about buying, is that I have an obsession for wearing Lee branded jeans. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I am not a small person, which, I'm not going to do the waist down image. So I have trouble getting the size/cut that I want in Australia. So I can get a size, but then I can't get necessarily the cut that I want. Yep. And out of all the places I've bought, and I've even bought stuff in America, and I bought Levi 501s, the cut that suits me the best is Lee branded jeans. And I bought a pair, weirdly enough, I bought a pair about a week ago, and I had them shipped directly to my door in Australia for about $12. Now, let's forget about the pricing discussion and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
This is purely about product choice. Now, they would sell. This wasn't a product that Amazon said, no, we can't send it to your address. They said, yep, we're happy to send it. Now, that product is now not available on the global options in the Amazon.com.au site.
All right.
And that's where I find the bullshitness about the whole thing, to be perfectly honest.
But you can get Lee jeans over here. Are they different to the US Lee jeans?
I can't get the Lee jeans that I want here.
Oh, okay. I thought Lee jeans were Lee jeans.
No. Well, it's sizing and cuts.
Yeah.
So, and we'll talk about it when we get into our feature topic. But I was doing a price comparison and doing a bit of research for this. The cost, it's the depth of the range as well. So, if I look at, no, that's not a good example. Anyway, we'll worry about that later on. So anyway, okay. So if we look at a bit Levi's 501 original fit jeans on Amazon.com.au, they have medium stonewash black, medium stonewash, which is a lighter color. Well, it seems to be the same one twice, and then a rinse color. So they've got 3 colors available. I go to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if I then go to the same jean on Amazon.com.au, men's 501 original fit jean, there's 36 color combinations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the breadth of choice they have in the United States is massive. But I just can't, and then if I looked at the sizing breakdowns, then that blows things completely out as well. So, it goes on and on. So the thing is that if Amazon said, okay, anything that we will ship to Australia on our normal site, we've included in the global part of our site, in the Australian site, I'd be like, okay, I can deal with that.
Yeah.
But that is not the case whatsoever.
Aren't the tax laws in America even more convoluted because they're different from state to state? So,
and this is where people have been calling bullshit on Amazon. So in the United States, states set their own tax rates. So if I buy something, and it can even go down to a county-based tax rate. So if I buy something, I could be in San Francisco, California, and the Californian tax rate's 8%, and I could be wrong on exactly what the figure is, but I think it's about 8%. The city of San Francisco, or the county you're in, might also charge a 2.5% sales tax rate on what you purchase. So therefore, the total sales tax rate's about 12.5%. But then if I went to Los Angeles and the city tax rate there is 1%, I'm only paying 9.5%. Now, then on top of that, if you go to Oregon, which is on the other side of the northern border of California, their sales tax rate is 0%.
Yeah.
So, and that helps us, which I'll talk about later.
Yep.
So there's all these other, and Delaware has a 0% tax rate too. So there's these things that, now, however, if I set up shop in Los Angeles, and so I'm a California-based business, and I'm selling something to someone in Nevada. No, that's not a good example. We'll say New York.
Yep.
So if I'm in California, if I'm purely located in California and I sell something to someone in New York, even though the tax rate is 8%, because I'm selling it to someone out of state, I don't have to charge them tax.
Okay.
However, if I had an outpost of my business in New York so I'm operating in that state, then I would have to charge them tax.
All right.
But if I don't charge them tax, okay, welcome back. We might have had a bit of a glitch just there. That's why I'm waiting on my NBN to get things sorted. So
maybe they're doing some prep work.
Yes, well, who knows? Could be all manner of things that's causing that issue. Anyway, we were talking about tax rates in the United States. Different things can happen in different states. So when you sell a product to a different state and you operate a business in that state as well, then you've got to pay tax. But if you don't, you don't. It's all very strange. And I know that they have brought in some tax laws that Amazon, for example, I think Amazon have created taxes around the world, the Amazon tax, that they will need to charge the appropriate sales tax in their local state. So the point is they have the ability to sell into Australia and charge the GST if they really wanted to. They've just decided that they are going to forward everyone to the Australian store and they'll deal it with that way. Now, we don't know what that means for the American store, and we will talk about that in our feature topic, whether we can still access it and they just will block shipping to Australia, or will they just say, no, you can't access it at all, or will you lose your credit card, or, will they stop you using an Australian credit card? We just don't know yet. But we'll find out. So look, it's an interesting rule, and how they are going to bring it in, and the Amazon response, I think, is a pig-headed one, but companies will adapt to it, and I don't think it's going to change. The thing about the tax rule is that, in my opinion, stupid retailers believe that if people have to pay GST on the good coming into the country, then they won't bother going to a physical retailer or an Australian retailer. They will stop buying it from overseas and they'll go to a local retailer.
Yep.
Now, they're underestimating the common sense of a fair crack of the Australian public.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some members of the Australian public who are stupid. I'm going to say that straight up. I look at stuff that I buy on eBay and look at the sold price and go, you realise you could have bought that brand new from the official retailer.
Yep.
So I'm just like, I don't understand it. Anyway.
No one in our audience is stupid, though. Our audience is smart.
Not.
No.
Of course not. I'm not talking about our audience. I'm talking about everyone else.
Yeah.
So but the fact is that if you've got something that I can get from overseas that a local retailer here is going to charge $100 for, I can buy it in Australia, and I might have a local retailer $100 for, but it's going to cost $50 in America. For me to pay the extra $5, in tax to get it here, I'm still ahead.
Yep.
So look at your pricing structures and adjust. Look at your supply chain. Look at ways you can get savings, and then maybe you'll have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we'll just see what happens with Amazon and what they do and what restrictions they put on people when they come into the country.
So, do you think other people like your eBays and your Alibabas will follow suit?
No, because eBay have said no. We're working with our providers to follow suit appropriately.
Okay.
They'll work with their partners, because there's questions about whether eBay sell a product or whether the individual user sells a product.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows, really? But eBay have said no. We're not going to block people from our international sites. But that said, if someone on eBay USA says we'll ship to anywhere in the world or list it worldwide, it automatically goes onto eBay Australia anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're not prepared to send it out of the country, then it won't go on here. And that to me is a reasonable enough situation.
Yeah.
Anyway, we might take a break
Yep.
and we'll come back with our feature topic, which we've already started talking about anyway, which is online shopping. So you are listening and watching to My Tech Opinion. We'll be back with more straight after this. And welcome back to My Tech Opinion. It is time for our feature topic. We're talking about online shopping. Weirdly enough, in our conversation before, Shayne, we were talking about, guess what? Online shopping. So I suppose that we're going to look at, some of the options that are available from an Australian perspective, and then also how you get stuff from overseas, which we talked a bit about before.
Yep.
And I think that when we were preparing this episode, it was as a result of the Amazon discussion.
Yeah.
It's been reasonably large news that Amazon in Australia, as we said at the start of the program, has decided that as of the 1st of July, that you wouldn't be able to buy things from the international stores and have it sent to Australia. You would need to buy everything directly through the Australian store. But the range is not there. So that's where our issue is.
Yep.
So in terms of online shopping, I don't know where to start. I think it's so second nature for me.
Yeah.
That like one of the greatest things that, like, Australia Post are a very maligned government entity and what have you. However, one of the products that they've brought out, which I think is the greatest product of all time, is their parcel locker. So there's nothing I hate more than buying something online. They won't deliver it directly to your house, and they will leave a card into your mailbox and say, you need to come to the post office and pick it up. And you get to the post office and everyone's picking something up, and you have to wait for 15 minutes in the line, and off you go. So obviously Australia Post have introduced parcel lockers in the country. Amazon in the US have them as well. They're even at Officeworks for their postal service. And you have a product sent directly to that parcel locker address. The Australian Post person will put it into that parcel locker. You get a text message, and you go down to the device and scan your phone or put in a code, and you can unlock it there and get the parcel delivered directly to you 24 hours a day, which is awesome. And for me, it also helps that I have a parcel locker in the foyer of my building at work.
All right.
So I can get stuff sent to work, and I've been so quick to go and pick stuff up that the message has come through. I've walked straight down there to get the product, and the parcel looker, Australia Post employee, is still filling it. So he goes, I'll step back and you can empty the one out of your particular locker. So yeah, anyway. So so that's the convenience factor. In terms of the online shopping, look, you said that you don't buy much online, the only things that you have to, Shayne?
Yeah, that's right.
Is there, you have a fear of it, or you don't want your details getting out, or what's your resistance to online shopping?
It's not so much a fear, I don't think. I don't have the amount of disposable income as I'd like, so there's that. And I guess the things that I potentially would buy often, things like TVs and that kind of stuff. You want to at least go to the store and experience the TV and see what it's like and all that kind of stuff. So you wouldn't necessarily buy one of those online. Having said that, my dryer carked it a couple of weeks ago, and I've still been kind of persevering with it. It's just blowing cold air instead of hot air. There's probably no point going to a Harvey Norman or anything like that to have a look at a dryer, because a dryer's a dryer. So I might I guess that's technically buying it online, even though you're buying it, say, from a Harvey Norman or one of those, and they just kind of deliver it to you, a couple of days later. Yep. But what I would buy, if anything, would be clothes, and I'd be worried about them because sizing in America, for argument's sake, or overseas is different to here. It is here, and I'm a little bit like you in that what fits me around the waist doesn't necessarily fit me in the leg, and vice versa, because I'm a bit vertically challenged.
Yeah, and look, and I think I'm like I do buy a lot online, but I'm also wary. So the thing is that with my Lee jeans, as we talked about it earlier on, is that I know, like I was wary the first pair I bought when I bought them online, but now I know that they fit and the cut's right. I've never had an issue since.
Yeah.
But I'm always wary on the first order, and it depends. Like, and I tend to be very boring with clothes in particular, and I tend to buy the same brand.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that their sizing will generally be consistent. When it comes to other things, shoes and stuff like that, I generally am I'm a sneaky person, and I'll go and try them on locally, and then I know exactly the size I need, and then I'll get them sent in. But there was a pair of shoes I wore into Europe last year, and locally they were $270,
Wow.
and I got them for 130 online from America.
Yeah.
So there's some incentive to do that. But generally, the stuff I buy online are goods that I are a known quantity.
Yep.
TVs I don't buy online. I want to go and look at them. Computers I don't really need to buy online because I find that some of the shops I have near here are quite affordable.
Yeah.
And I want instant satisfaction as well, instant gratification.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it depends. It depends on what you're buying. The thing that I did buy online, which was a massive success, and they're not a sponsor of the program, but as I bought a dryer from Appliances Online.
All right.
And they said we'll be there between 10 and 12 on Tuesday, whatever day it was. And they bought the new dryer in, took the old one away.
Really?
Yeah. And their pricing and their other thing is that their pricing might be just a touch higher, but that takes into account the delivery. So if you went to another place and bought it, they would add delivery on.
Yeah, and they wouldn't take the old one away, I bet.
No. So they might have somewhere you can dump it, but you're someone, Shayne, that you've said you've got a disability. So for you to go and pick up a dryer and then cut it in your house is not as easy as it is for other people.
No.
So in your case, you're better off doing that, and they just come in and do it. So yeah. So look, it comes down to what you do. The one thing that changes things a bit in Australia is, of course, shipping fees.
Yeah.
And businesses have this fear. So what they do is they go, well, we can't make the price, even though our costs are lower to shop online, because we're dispatching directly from a warehouse, we can't undercut our retail presence.
Yeah.
So they've got a catch-22 situation. So what they do is that they have to keep the prices, the same prices in store. Yeah, they'll have things going, sales and things like that. But then there's a disincentive from a lot of retailers in Australia. So the retailers that are successful in Australia only sell online.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that I think in Australia that has been a good thing from a local market is click and collect.
Yep.
And a fantastic example of where, so JB Hi-Fi have, are worried about the Amazon entry into Australia, because small to medium-sized consumer electronics is where JB Hi-Fi make a lot of money, and they see Amazon as a threat to that market.
Yep.
So JB Hi-Fi bought in 3-hour click and collect. And I decided one day that I would use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to buy a new keyboard for my Mac. And I went, oh, bugger it, I can't be bothered driving to the Apple store, so I'll just get it from JB Hi-Fi. So I was sitting out front of a business. Like, I was actually out in the car, and I thought, oh, I'll just order it. So I went onto the website on my mobile phone. I was already registered with them. I ordered it. and went, okay, I'll go and get it. So I left the particular shop I was at, went and filled my car full of petrol, and then started driving the 5 kilometers from that location to where the JB Hi-Fi was.
Mm-hmm.
And before I got that through that 7 kilometer journey in total and filling my car up, I got a message going, your item is ready to pick up.
All right. Worked out well.
And I walked in, grabbed it, and left. And JB Hi-Fi was another good example, was on the what do you call it? On the Boxing Day sales last year, I ordered a couple of items and did a click and collect, and I didn't have to wait in line, and there was like 30 people in line.
No, you would have been popular.
Yeah. So there's some really good advantages. The other one that's quite popular, of course, which is a different type of online shopping because you've still got to go and view, but is cinema tickets.
Yep.
Now I have a bugbear on this because you can buy a cinema ticket online, you can pre-choose your seats online. It makes the experience easy, but they charge you a booking fee that you don't have to pay if you actually used a staff member at the actual venue.
Mm. Yeah, and you think it'd be the other way around.
Yeah. So, but there's another, that's another form of online shopping that works really well.
Mm.
So
I actually did that for, was it the Solo movie?
Yep.
Might have been. And I said, I've done the ticket and all that. And she still wanted to see the ticket and zap the ticket anyway, because I got to read the barcode. And then I also wanted to get some food, so I didn't really save any time by buying the ticket online.
Yeah. The only thing that I save by buying it online is I guarantee my seat.
Yeah.
I can buy it 3 weeks earlier or something like that.
See, we don't have allocated seating over here.
Oh, okay. There you go. There's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I went and saw Infinity War, I booked the ticket 3 days earlier and the cinema was nearly sold out. So I wouldn't have had a hope in hell had I decided to go when I wanted to go.
Yep.
If I hadn't have pre-bought a ticket. The one thing that I did notice is that if you I don't know if this is the same in store at Hoyts in Melbourne, in Perth, but because when we went and saw Solo, there were 6 of us that went. Because I was buying more than 4 tickets online, I got a group booking fee. So I dropped about $4 a ticket off.
Yep.
Good. Very good. Anyway, so that's online shopping too. You might be going physically to consume the product, but you're still buying it online. But yeah, Australian retailers are adapting. Click and Collect, Myer do Click and Collect, and I think David Jones do as well. So you're getting that, you are having that ability to do instant gratification. So I can order something the night before. I can drop in during the lunchtime and it's there ready for me to go. So that's quite handy from that perspective. Then there's, of course, eBay. I have a love-hate relationship with eBay because I still think that the auction aspect of their website's very good, but they've moved away from that in terms of what's available. I love putting things up for auction on eBay. I hate paying the fees on it. But I find it easier to sell stuff on eBay than I do on Gumtree because I don't have to deal with idiots contacting me going, "Oh, would you take $2.50 for it?"
Yeah.
Oh my God, no, you just pay the price that you pay it and I'll send it to you. It's done.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I don't really use things for Target or Kmart or anything like that because there's so many of them around. I can just go there.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple.
Yep.
But I think it's businesses who want to sell online and what have you. It's understanding your market and what you can do. And I think Click and Collect is good. In fact, the Intel NUC that I have, the local computer store I bought it from, I ordered it. They contacted me about an hour after I ordered it online. And they said, our particular site doesn't have it. Our other site, which is 3 kilometers up the road, has it, but then they don't have something else. If you like, I can get this particular product transferred over there and it'll be ready for you 45 minutes later than you thought it would be.
Okay. Yeah.
And which was the time I was going past there anyway, so it was an easy fix.
Yep.
So there's all these things that they can do, and I think it works really well. online shopping is taking off in Australia. There's no doubt about it. People are becoming time poor. And I think the people who are freaking out the most about online shopping, to be perfectly honest, are not so much the retailers, providing they continue to offer the product. It's actually the shopping centres.
Oh, yeah.
Because a retailer can still sell their product, but they don't have to pay all the overheads.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the impact of online shopping, if you go to a local shopping centre, you'll see more nail salons, hairdressers, movie, dining, and things like that, because that's how they're getting people to come in, because they're things that you can't buy online, unless, of course, you're into Uber Eats. But you get my point.
Mm-hmm.
So they're making it more of a social experience. But yeah, they're the ones that are freaking out. I mean, Chadstone in Melbourne, let's see what the figure they did. Let's see. Yes, so all the shops in Chadstone have a combined turnover of $1.4 billion last year. That's one shopping centre.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
Mm.
So there you go. So, so in terms of where to next? So we've talked a little bit of online shopping in Australia. We've talked about probably hard goods. I mean, you can do shopping online for your groceries now, which is proving to be popular for people who are time poor.
Yep.
And I think the online shopping for the supermarkets is improving. Sometimes I've bought one or two things online, and then they're like, "Oh, we didn't have it, so we substituted it automatically for you." I'm like, yeah, no, I don't like that. I would like to choose myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes the online prices are actually higher. Because interestingly, other than the actual store aspect of it, that the online shopping for supermarkets actually costs the supermarkets more money, because they're actually having to have staff to go and pick the shelves and then scan it, and then they have to have a delivery driver come out and things like that. Whereas, yes, they have the physical space there, but normally the only staff interaction you might have won't be at the deli or going through the registers, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're actually doing more work for you. Yep. What their Coles and Woolworths are looking at, and what interestingly Uber Eats and Deliveroo are doing as well, and I know that you go, well, where's the comparison there? Is that they're creating what they call dark sites.
Mm.
So a dark site is that the Woolworths will have a supermarket set up that it is not open to any customers.
Oh, okay.
And it is purely fulfillment for online shopping.
Yep.
So, they'll just have the boxes. Well, I just knocked my mic again. They have the boxes cut open on the shelves. They will have, the freezers and stuff set up, but it's not going to be pretty. It's just there.
Yep.
And in terms of the Uber Eats Deliveroo world, they're setting up dark kitchens. So you might have a company that has 3 or 4 different brands of food that they sell through their restaurants, rather than having a delivery driver turning up at the back door of the restaurant waiting for the delivery to get handed to them to go and deliver. They will set up some kitchens that are designed specifically for delivery drivers.
Oh, right.
And that's all that they service. But they might have 5 or 6 brands running out of the one kitchen.
Could they not do, not so much obviously the restaurant stuff, because the food's cooked, but I mean, like, couldn't, instead of Coles and Woolies doing the delivery of the of your stuff, and they may already have this service, I'm just not aware of it, couldn't they not do a click and collect for your groceries? Like, you order them and then you just go get them?
Woolworths already do that.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
But then it's still more handling for the individual, because they've got to go and pick it all off the shelves for you.
Yeah, but it saves the truck,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but then you and see the thing about Woolworths. I've not used Coles, but Woolworths, your delivery fee will vary depending on the popularity. So they
oh,
almost have surge pricing for their delivery fees.
all right.
So if you want to deliver between 6 and 7 at night,
Yep.
then you probably pay the highest fee. But if you're happy for it to be delivered at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you pay less. I don't know what the pricing split is, but
Yeah.
they have different times for different days and things like that.
Yeah.
Probably to manage the loads of their delivery. So, the one thing that I reckon that online shopping is great for from the supermarkets is parties.
Yeah.
Go and get 10 slabs of beer delivered. That's make life easier. I can tell you that. Absolutely.
So,
Anyway,
and I don't know if we're going to move on to this, but where does services like Catch of the Day and all that kind of stuff kind of fit in?
well, Catch of the Day is purely a distribution system. I will find it and put it in the show notes. Catch of the Day did a video of their automated fulfillment center with all their robots and stuff like that. It's cool, man. They've got all this massive warehouse set up.
Oh, I thought Catch of the Day were not their own like shopping company. I thought they were just basically a like a layer where they were just
No.
bring in things
So
from
that
Coles and
so there are some things that they do. There's some things that they will wait for.
yeah.
But Catch of the Day generally will go. The Catch of the Day is slowly moving out of it. So what their original model was, they were an eBay seller, Catch of the Day, and they started selling stuff on eBay, and then they've grown into their own space. But I might turn around and go, what am I a manufacturer of? Let's have a look. I'll manufacture packets of chips. Is a good example. So when I send a packet of chips, a box of chips to Woolworths, I've got to have a 12-month expiry date pretty well. Catch of the Day will go, well, if you've got product that's only got 3 or 6 months left on it, we'll take it. But we will sell it at a lower price, but we want you to give it to us at a cheaper price too. So they will take, distressed stock. They might take, we'll say, a computer mouse, and they might say, well, Microsoft hasn't bought in 100,000 of these mice, whatever you call it, into the country, and they only sold 50,000 of them. And so rather than them, they might have 50,000 in a warehouse that they can't get rid of. So they'll go to Catch the Day. We just don't want to hold on to this stock anymore. And they go, we'll take it for $20 a piece, whatever the figure is, and we'll sell it. We'll take on all of the distribution and shipping and things like that.
Yep.
So they've gone into grocery. They sell experiences. They might turn around and say, they might hold the product in the warehouse, but then the other side of it is they'll go to Microsoft. Well, we'll sell these. We'll let you know how many we sell in a week. We might have it only up on the site for a week, and in that week they sold 10,000 of them. So Microsoft will only send them 10,000 to ship out.
Yep.
They've got various things that they do as part of their product, but there's other interesting things about Catch of the Day that I'm not at liberty to talk about. That's not a bad thing by any means in imagination, but I just can't. But yeah, it just how they do business. Like that's just how their business operations are. So I don't know how they're being impacted by other retailers. I personally find the Catch of the Day now, or catch.com.au, I don't think it's much cheaper anymore.
Okay.
So, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm a shopper around though. Some people out there will buy things purely. They go, well, it's on Catch of the Day, must be cheaper.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. So that's the other thing with eBay. I've of the opinion it's on eBay. It must be secondhand when it's not. No.
Most of 90% of the stuff on eBay sold now is brand new.
Yeah.
So it's turned into a marketplace. But I'm very particular about what I buy on eBay. I've got to the point where I will not go and buy a 20-cent cable that came in from China. I will buy a brand name because I know it's going to work out better.
Yep.
That's just my thing, though. But it each to their own. It depends on what you're buying. I bought silicon rubber thumb pads. Weird, I know, for a PlayStation controller.
Okay.
Now they sell them at JB Hi-Fi for $40 for 2 of them.
Wow.
I pay, on eBay, I paid $5 for 6.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Depends. It just depends on what you're doing. But I still sell, as I said, I still sell my stuff on eBay because, I have to pay eBay a fee, which I think has grown over the years. But the advantage of me doing that is that the auction finishes, the person pays usually on PayPal, and I ship it straight away.
Yep.
So look, there's some things with online shopping in Australia, but specifically in Australia. Then we look at our overseas situation, and people have been buying stuff on Amazon for years. There's other sites that people buy on. ASOS is another good one that sells in from the UK or Europe. But that is now changing because, as we talked about in our intro, the GST on imports is changing as of the 1st of July 2018. Yep. Amazon have said that they're going to redirect everyone to the Australian Amazon website. I'm not sure what others are doing at the moment. eBay have said that they're not going to do that, and they will work out a way to get the tax remitted. How that impacts ASOS and other sites, we don't know. But I can tell you, Shayne, firsthand, that I do buy a lot of stuff from overseas, and I will continue to buy a lot of stuff overseas because it's not a price situation. It's because it's choice.
Yep.
And I'll give you a couple of good examples. So I'll give you an example for and against. So here's an example for buying stuff online. So if I said I want to buy a pair of Levi's 501s, original straight medium stonewash jean, I can buy them at Just Jeans, iconic Australian retailer, for $119.95. I go to amazon.com.au and I will pay $83.96 for them.
So that's the Australian Amazon site?
Yes. And if I buy the same color and the same size, so I'm making that delineation from amazon.com, they deliver to Australia, $49.99 US.
At the moment, they deliver to Australia.
Yes. So, if we did a bit of a $49.99, now the current exchange rate is 76 US cents. So that means in Australian dollars, that figure is $65.77.
Mm-hmm.
Now we times that by 1.1 to add the GST on, it's $72.35.
Yeah.
And let's have a look at how much the carting is. This is really good to do when we're live on a podcast. I should have already done this.
So far we're at half of Just Jeans price. Yeah, the local walk-in bricks and mortar retailer.
Yeah. So if we proceed to check out, oh man, I'm not even logged in. Okay, so let's have a look. Come on, up you go. Okay. Okay, so Amazon.com, seriously, right? You're seriously. If I do...
They charge them $50 delivery or something.
No, they're not actually going to ship it to this address. Amazon.com would actually charge me Australian dollars. If I, it would cost me $68.60 Australian dollars without shipping.
Right.
I don't know what the shipping fee would actually be because that particular thing that they're not going to ship it to Australia. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole process of finding one that will ship to Australia.
Yep.
But you can see it's about on par. By the time you add shipping, it'd be about on par with Amazon.com.au, but it is still substantially cheaper than buying it from Amazon, from Just Jeans.
Yep.
Now, fair enough, Just Jeans might have a sale on, it would reduce the price and things like that. So it becomes on par at points. But I know that I can get those prices at Amazon every day.
Mm-hmm. There
was a scenario a while ago where I actually wanted to buy a cookbook, and it was by a Melbourne author.
Yeah.
So it was cheaper for me to buy that cookbook from, I think, Book Depository in the UK, which is now owned by Amazon, and have it shipped to Australia. So a book that was written in Melbourne, printed in Melbourne, sent to the UK for sale, bought it in the UK, and it was sent back to Australia.
Yeah.
Than it was to buy it in Australia. Now, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
That's the issue. There is something wrong when that's happening. But using that example, we'll have a look. So using that example, Shannon Bennett has done a book called, because it was the same person, the Vue de Monde chef. He's done a book called Paris, Guide to the City's Best. If I buy it on Amazon.com.au, it's $38.81 Australian. If I buy it on Amazon.com, not including shipping, it's $39 US.
Yeah.
And Booktopia, Australian located site, it's $46.75. So really, it's much of a muchness.
Mm-hmm.
$5 or $6 difference. So in that particular situation, it proves that Amazon buying it in Australia is cheaper than buying it in America.
Yep.
So you've just got to look at your individual circumstances.
Yep. I think where one other reason why I'm a bit reluctant was a few years ago now, so it's probably changed. But I bought, I'm just looking at them now, I bought about half a dozen hats, just like sports caps. Bought them from a place in Florida. They were different like teams like Lakers and a couple of NFL teams, all that kind of stuff. It took 3 months to get to me and a couple of phone calls, a couple of emails to try and follow it up. My rule of thumb, look, I hate when that happens. Yeah.
My rule of thumb is I will tend to pay, unless it's ridiculously expensive, I will tend to pay the extra to have tracking.
Mm.
Whether that's local, international, whatever. So I know where everything is. Because particularly if I'm buying stuff from America, that transitional to get it into the country is slow.
Yep.
And it's probably the retailer that stuffed something up, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I told you before, I got a delivery from Amazon, took 10 days. And my best experience, this is my best experience.
Yeah.
I bought a pair of fake Nike mags from Back to the Future Part 2 as a costume thing that I was doing from a costume shop might have been Florida.
Yep.
I'd finished work on a Monday night at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I think I was sitting around work just ordering before I had to go and do something else. So I ordered it at about 5:30 on a Monday afternoon.
Yep.
I picked... Oh. Shush. Alexa, stop. Alexa started talking. Weird. Anyway, that was just a distraction. So I ordered them at 5 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. They arrived. I had them in my hands at 6 o'clock on a Thursday.
All right. Same week.
They were FedExed.
Yeah.
But I've never had anything arrive so quick.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And considering it takes 2 days to send a letter in Melbourne now, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah, I blown away by that.
Yeah.
That said, some shops will sell to Australia, some shops don't. I have used for a number of years now a forwarding service, and I'll make a guess on whether I need to use it or I don't. So I use a service called Hop Shop and Go. What they do is they give me an American address. So they'll say Phil Edwards, and they'll give you a suite number and then an address. So that suite number is my little address there.
Yeah.
And I will ship stuff to them in America. And they're in Oregon, which we talked about before, is a tax-free state, so I don't have to pay American sales tax on it. And the beauty about this service is that they will combine all of the products into a single shipment.
All right.
So they're not cheap. So the first 500 grams to send from America to Australia is about 28 to 30 US dollars.
Wow.
But it's only about 5 or 6 US dollars for every 500 grams on top of that.
Yep.
And if you get 2 packages, one's a kilo, it's not 2 individual packages, that's 2 kilos.
2 kilos, yeah.
So that big figure you pay at the start. The other good thing about them is that they will also, if they go, well, the package, they check the packaging to make sure that everything's in there. And if they go, well, they've sent you this giant box, because they will ship things on volumetric weight other than actual weight.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll check the box and go, no, the box is a bit big. We will charge you to do it. It might be $5, but they will repackage it for you, but it will make your shipping cheaper.
Oh, okay.
So they've got some advantages there. The good thing is what happens is that the product arrives on site. They open it up, scan the invoice, and you can access the invoice on your as a PDF directly from your portal.
Yep.
So you can see, okay, there's my order, and then you go, all right, I've got all these products. Click, click, click. I will ship them as a single shipment.
Yep.
And I think my record's been about 13 kilos.
Oh wow.
Which cost about $200. But anyway, but what I tend to find is that you group them together. Like I will hold off on doing a mass order, and I'll do it at once.
Yeah.
And then they express courier it, and it's here within 3 to 4 days. Now, I use that. If it's something that I can ship directly to Australia, unless the shipping price is horrendous, I generally will just ship that directly here.
Yep.
But they are products that I will, if they don't ship outside the US, I'll ship there, or if the expense is quite high, I ship it to the single point and collaborate, bring it all together.
Yep.
And the other service that they have, and this is where Amazon may come into play, is that there are certain sites, like a couple of years ago, I bought a pair of custom Converse All-Stars. So you can go onto their website and say, I want this, and I want this color sole, and I want this color panel on the side, and I want my name embroidered into it, and all this sort of stuff. It's total wank, but it's cool at the same time.
Yeah.
But they don't even accept Australian credit cards.
Oh, all right.
So what I did was they have a shop for you service, or shop for me, or whatever it is. So you have to pay them a commission, admittedly, but you pay them 10% commission, but they will actually go and buy the product for you and have it sent to your location.
Oh, okay.
So there's some cool things that they do there. Now, they're not the only service out there. There's a heap of them.
Australia Post has got one.
Yeah,
Postmate.
they do. So what I will do is, and I don't know how old the article is, but there is a choice article that's available that compares a number of the services. So I use one called Hop Shop and Go, which is branded for PayPal users only, but it's actually owned by a business called Com Gateway. There's another one called Mates Freight, My US, Ship It To, Shopmate, which is the Australia Post Service, USA to Me, US to Oz. And there's a few others around as well, but they all have different angles.
Yeah.
The great thing about the Australia Post Shopmate service is that they will deliver to parcel lockers, for example.
Yeah.
But then you've got to look at the pricing. So Shopmate charges $22.95 Australian per package plus $4.95 Australian for every 500 grams of the weight of that package.
Okay.
So in the service I use, you might pay $28 for the first 500 grams.
Yep.
And then it's $4.80 for every 500 grams at the top of that. But that's over multiple packages.
Yeah.
So if you order 4 kilos over 4 packages, it works out to be, say $50. But for Australia Post, it's $22 per package plus the extras on there. And one of the issues you do get from some retailers is that they might go, well, we've got multiple warehouses, so we might ship out, even though you've only paid one shipping fee, they will ship two packets out.
All right.
And that blows your costs up immediately.
Yep.
But I think the thing is that you've got to sit down, and the individual has to look at, if you're going to take advantage of one of these shopping services, or the shipping services, you have got to take into account what your individual shopping circumstances are.
Yep.
And as I said before, when I use these shipping services, I tend to buy bulk.
Mm-hmm.
So I will buy a few things. There's makeup that my wife likes that she can't get in Australia. I will buy a couple of pairs of jeans and a shirt, and there might be some stuff for radio station or headphones, or I think the headphones I've got in here I used on that service as well, which you can hardly even see, but that's why I bought them. So, there's it comes down to what you want to do. One of my favorites that I bought was for something for the radio station is I bought a 10-meter cable snake.
Yeah.
Which is a weird one, but it was basically an extension lead for microphone cables that goes for 10 meters, and I can have 5 microphones hooked in through the one box.
Yep.
It's a stage thing, but it's good for outside broadcasts. So what you've got to do is you've got to go through those services, have a look in our show notes for the listeners out there and the viewers out there, and there's a link to Choice that they have a good comparison on it, because you've got to make an understanding on the individual thing.
Yep.
Now, fast forward to after the 1st of July, what happens with GST? The one thing Australia Post have said is that they will, if GST has not been included on products that are sent through the Shopmate service, they will apply a GST amount when you pay for that shipping to come to Australia.
Oh, okay.
So they take care of it for you.
Yep.
You've got to pay it, but they will take care of the paperwork. And the last thing you need to, it's going to be a bit of a new world when this kicks in, because if the retailer sends it to you and doesn't charge it, then you may have to go to the post office and pay a 10% fee just to get the product that you already own.
Okay.
So we're not quite sure how it's going to be put it in. They're going to have the right notification on the front.
Yep.
If you've got, and I can also see what's going to happen is that people will go, some businesses will register for GST, and then they haven't, and they've paid it, but then it's not noted on the package.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's going to be, people are going to have to prove that they've already paid it and things like that.
Yeah, so there'll be teething problems.
Yeah.
So I get the sense you're trying to speed things up, but I have a couple of questions.
I don't know.
How does it work? Because the other thing that you could probably do to avoid the kind of geo-blocking and all that kind of stuff is, if you're lucky enough to have either friends or family in the US, or in my case, Canada. So if I was to buy something from the US, get it shipped to, say, my family in Canada, and then they were to ship it across, have you had experience with that?
I haven't. That said, the fee that you will pay, you'll probably have to pay the appropriate level of tax to wherever they ship it to. So if you're in Canada, then you'll have to pay a tax fee. But then, of course, then you've got a family that's going to be nice enough to chuck it back in another envelope and send it to you.
Mm.
I don't know what the tax implications of that when you bring it into Australia, though.
Okay.
Because we've got to I suppose we've got to separate it out. There's business, like Amazon are going to turn around and say, we're not going to ship to Australia from Amazon.com.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. So the couple of questions to ask is, A, can you still shop on there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can I have an Australian credit card and it will ship it to an American address?
Yep.
Or are they just going to try and cut me out of it completely?
So we don't know that yet.
We don't know. So that's number one. Number two, once it gets there and comes into Australia, does your forwarding service, now whether that's a business or family, are they taking care of the GST component? So any good forwarding service will,
Yeah.
should, but if they don't, what is going to happen when that product lands in the country, and how do you pay that GST, and how do you get it? Like, these are the questions that we don't have answers to.
Yeah.
It seems to me that the rules are a bit half-assed in terms of how they've been created, without actually looking at real-world scenarios on who's responsible for collecting that figure.
Yeah.
If you've been doing international transactions over $1,000 since GST came in, so the last 18 years,
Yep.
it's usually the shipping agent that imports it into Australia for you, collects it, and then you pay them.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's been done,
Yeah.
plain and simple. Because we have had GST on shipping over $1,000 for imported stuff.
Yep.
But it's just handled very differently, and they're trying to pass all of the onus onto it, back onto the retailer, rather than looking at the shipping, looking at better ways to do it.
Okay.
And all of this has come around because retailers are bitch and moan to the government and saying it's unfair. Well, I think they've dug their own grave, to be perfectly honest. So, yeah. So you're right, Shane. It could work, but you may still have to pay the GST when it hits Australia.
Okay. All right. So tax aside,
Yep.
what? Obviously, researching this kind of topic, I kind of listed a couple of other kind of gotchas in relation to online shopping, especially from overseas. Things like return policies and warranties and voltage differences and plug differences and clothes size differences I've mentioned before, customs, importing laws, exchange rates, all those things are things that have put me off doing kind of online shopping in the past. Are they still a problem?
You've got to look at it's a product by product issue.
Okay.
My wife and I were in America, weirdly enough, exactly 5 years ago from when we're recording this, because I had things come up on my Facebook today saying, 5 years ago, you're at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were looking at a KitchenAid mixer.
Yep.
And the price was about a third of what they were in Australia.
Right.
But in that particular, I turned around and went, we can't do it because the voltage on the power lead was completely different.
Yeah.
So in America, they run on 110. We run on 230 to 240 in Australia, and it was not going to just work unless you have a really big step-down adapter.
Yep.
So I just went, it's not worth it. It's not worth doing it. That said, consumer electronics now when you went to America for Ignite and you went and saw Twit and all that sort of things.
Can you see the show?
Yeah, exactly. You charged your phone. What did you do to charge your phone?
I had the plug adapter, then into a power board, and then the regular phone socket into that power board, in the Australian power board.
So basically, most of consumer electronics these days, and this is one of convenience for the manufacturer, but also convenience for the user, is that it's cheaper for them now to produce a multi-voltage power adapter.
Yeah.
That they just have changeable duck heads on for the individual PowerPoint configurations of the countries.
Yeah.
Rather than producing a different unit for every single country with the different voltage standards. So if you're looking at smaller consumer electronics, you just buy it, and then you just need the appropriate duck head adapter.
So what happens?
You've got to look at individual products, of course. Too.
Yeah. So an example would be like mobile phones. You've got, I don't know if it happens in the Apple world so much, but like in the Android world, you'll have a phone like the Google Pixel. We might get the black and the silver one over here, but in the US you can get red, blue and green and pink and purple polka dots. If I wanted the blue one, is it safe for me to buy that in that instance?
There are two answers to that.
Yeah.
The short answer is yes. The long answer is maybe.
Okay.
So what you need to look at is that you need to then delve into the specs of the device
Yeah.
and look at what bands they operated on. So I think we talked about this on our traveling overseas with tech episode, and we said that Verizon is a different. Verizon in America used to run a CDMA network on their 2 and 3G networks, and then they've moved to GSM for their 4G. And then different bands apply for different providers. So Apple, for example, will produce a phone for the Australian market that covers the 900, 1800, 2100, and maybe the 700 megahertz bands or whatever is appropriate.
Yep.
And they probably will do more than that. And they might produce a slightly different model that handles different bands for America. You need to look at the fine print on that because it will probably work in Australia, but it may drop out in coverage in certain areas because our carriers will look at the 900 megahertz band for wider range coverage.
So
that makes sense.
If I have an issue with that phone, can I take it to an Apple shop and expect to get it covered by a warranty?
Not guaranteed.
Okay.
So you need to. These are things you need to look into. I tend to complex electronics like an iPhone. I won't buy from overseas.
Yep.
That's just my general rule on that. But it's just personal opinion. You might want to take the risk.
Mm.
But for example, the two items that I bought from overseas and haven't been a problem. My Amazon voice activated product, because I'm not going to mention her name.
Yeah.
And I bought a Wemo Bridge, which was a device that connected my Wemo switches up with my Apple HomeKit.
Yep.
Now, the great thing about those two products, the Echo Dot came with a power adapter, but it was like a phone adapter. It was a USB cable into a power adapter.
Yep.
Well, I just used a USB point.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked fine.
Yep.
And the Wemo Bridge was the same. The great thing about buying stuff from overseas is that USB is becoming that ubiquitous power supply type situation.
Mm.
So it's helping that situation quite easily. But you need to do your research. You need to look at your individual products and make that determination of what is suitable. Electronics, if they're a sort of a standalone product, you should be fine. But if they're not a standalone product, you need to look into it.
Okay.
So you need to, and it's an element of risk that you take on it.
Yep.
You know? That's why I probably buy clothes more than anything, because really there's some things that you can return. Whether you bother returning it, you've got to do a costing. ASOS, for example, has an Australian return address.
Oh, okay.
And then they will combine it all up and then send it back overseas together. So you need to do research on what is actually going to work for you.
Yep. And
how you make it, work it around what you're trying to do. So, people need to look at their own individual circumstances to determine whether it's worth taking the risk. Because, look, I've bought shirts from America and they don't fit. That's plain and simple. And I've resold them online and lost money on them.
Yeah.
But that's a risk that I was prepared to take.
Yep.
But I now know not to buy that shirt again. So, these are things that people need to look at and make determinations on when buying online. And that goes whether you buy it in Australia, America, whatever.
Yep.
Look at the return policy, look at the warranty. Is it valid? All those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
Apple warranty is pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. But then is it the same for a Google Pixel? The individual needs to look into that and determine what they're buying and whether there's the risk that's worth buying into there. So yeah,
makes sense.
Often for Apple, for example, if you've bought it from an Apple retailer around the world, they will honour that. They will honour it here.
Oh right.
So, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, there you go.
Right, I think I'm done. I'm just going to check my news just to see if I've got anything else I can.
So, but yeah, look, as I said, I'll post some links. There was some good stuff there. There was a link to general legislation for GST on low value imported goods. There was also information for consumers on low value imported goods. And there was a link to Australia Post Shopmate service that talks about customs and duties and how they will apply them. And there was a choice article on shopping stuff from overseas as well.
Cool.
In terms of buying in Australia, look at your local retailer. The tips I was going to go back in on that and say that I tend to use PayPal because then I'm only providing one provider with my details rather than having my credit card spread around online everywhere. If you're a bit thingo about credit cards being used, get a debit card, transfer the money that you want to spend online if you're worried about individual security. Make it work for you. You may need to make a risk assessment and how you go about it and look at your individual circumstances. So yeah, good way to do it.
Cool.
Anything else to add?
I think the only thing I was going to say was that the only other times that I've bought things and using my credit card to pay for stuff, back in 2011, I interviewed some talent from Twit, from the coast, and as a thank you, I just bought them bottles of wine, but I bought Australian wine, but from a local kind of American wine place. And, I got hit with exchange fees and all that kind of stuff. So that's another kind of gotcha as well.
And look, exchange fees, you've got to take that into account. Most companies will use the exchange rate of the day plus 3%.
Yep.
There is a credit card called the 28 Degrees credit card. You don't get points benefits and stuff like that you might on other things, but they will do no exchange rate fees. They will do rate of the day and that's it.
All right.
So you need to research what your options are, and take into account and look at your exchange rates and take into account the fees that they charge and so on and so forth. Amazon on their American website will charge you in Australian dollars. There's even retail stores in America that I've been to that will go, would you like us to charge you in Australian dollars?
Yeah.
And they will do it for you. So you just need to take all those things into account. And I think that, that was the argument that I put in before, that we said that, all right, so a pair of Levi's in America were $49.99, and then you have to divide that by 0.76, which is the current exchange rate, is 65.77 Australian dollars, and then we times that by 1.03, which adds on 3% exchange rate fee, then times it by 1.1, which adds the GST. So we're now up to 74.52 plus shipping, which might be about $13. We'll say $14. So it brings up to 88, and the Amazon Australia price was $83.96.
But that still would have had shipping on top of that, though, wouldn't it?
No, it includes free delivery on that particular one that I'm looking at.
Is that because you're a Amazon Prime member?
No, my Prime registration means nothing in the Amazon Australia store.
Oh, okay.
I think it's shipping products over $50. You get cheaper shipping.
Oh, okay.
So there's. And returns are another thing that you need to look at. Amazon Australia has a returns policy, so on and so forth. So you need to, you as a consumer need to look into those things and determine what works for you.
Yep.
But you've got to work out your international pricing and all that sort of stuff. And I've just got it in my head that I will do my little calculations. So, and I will not buy online if I can get it cheaper locally.
Yeah.
That's just the thing.
Yep.
I don't have to buy it online at all costs. So yeah. Take some ownership, do a bit of sums, make it a puzzle, play a game. I've done lots of spreadsheets on costs of things, trust me.
Yeah.
That's the way we do it. Anyway, if you've got any questions for us on online shopping, if there's some tips you think we missed or anything like that, send us an email, mytechopinion@prosumerit.com.
Exactly.
We might take a quick break, Shane, and then we'll come back and say goodbye. What do you reckon?
Yep, good thinking.
Excellent. This is My Tech Opinion. We'll be back in a moment. And welcome back to My Tech Opinion. We're saying goodbye. We've been talking about online shopping. There was a couple of things that you had in some notes there, Shane. We're talking about like online payments and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Pay ID in Australia is in, and it will help with further instant payments and things like that.
Yep.
I think the bank's situation has Beam as well, which should if you decide to use that and what have you. But the problem with direct transfers is that often you have to wait for them to reconcile their bank account against the order before they will ship it.
Yep.
But the one that you were talking in the notes that you'd put in there that you were talking about, there was a couple of things we didn't talk about was lay-by. You mentioned lay-by, which you can often do in Australia.
Yep.
But one of the things that they're offering now, there's two services, and there's a few others as well, but there's Afterpay and Zip Pay. Now, Afterpay, you can buy, say, a computer, and they will pay it with Afterpay, and you then have to pay Afterpay 4 payments equal to the amount that is owing.
Yep.
So if you buy something for $1,000, you pay 4 fortnightly payments of $250. That helps you with your cash flow.
Yep.
Zip Pay is different, so they have a minimum monthly payment amount, and then they will charge you a $5 fee for whatever's outstanding, but you can pay it off over a longer period of time. So if you bought a $600 item, you can pay that off each month, interest-free, and they get a cut from the retailer. But and then every month that there's an outstanding amount on your account, you have to pay a $5 fee.
Okay.
But they will do up to $1,000. So, there's some options available for people when they're shopping online. And the advantage of those, even though, you're effectively borrowing money on a very low interest term thing, you're not handing over your credit card details to a website that you think's a concern.
Yep.
The other one was we talked in our thing about, whether they will accept Australian credit cards and things like that. I have a feeling with the Amazon changes in particular that we're going to have to use a VPN to access Amazon.com.
Yep.
But we'll know. We'll work out what, I don't know whether we will. Or we can go to Amazon.com, but they just won't ship here. Who knows?
Yep.
We'll find that out the hard way.
Yeah.
So, and you've put in a few notes there, which will also include on the website, which is, some stuff from the ACCC about consumers' rights, and looking at different ways to pay as well. So there's some really good things that we'll add into the show notes.
Yep.
So anyway, that's it for
Yes.
our episode 13. Episode 14, Shane, I think we'd already decided on talking about live streaming, whether that be audio, video, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, not from a consumption point of view, like we did a couple of episodes ago.
Yep.
With the getting content from Netflix and all that kind of stuff, but more from the broadcast standpoint. Whether it be like we could be live streaming this podcast if we wanted to.
Yes.
Or things like you do through the radio station where you do
Yes.
live streaming of football and whatever other sport.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so it's not as well as it's broadcasting, but it's also getting something from point to point as well. So we'll look at those different options and what some of the things you might need to take into account.
Yep. Sounds good.
Bandwidth is going to be the big one. Bandwidth.
Won't be a problem for you in a couple of weeks.
I know. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, we'll be back. Remember to leave your comments on the podcast store or online. It helps us get noticed and more people listening to us, which we appreciate. You can send us an email as well, mytechopinion@prosumerit.com, and we'll also have a splash screen at the end of this if you're watching on the video on how to get in contact with us. But really, in short, go to prosumerit.com and there'll be a link there to My Tech Opinion.
Yep.
And you can find everything on there as well.
Yep, absolutely.
So easy. Anyway, Shane, thank you very much for being part of the program tonight or today.
No problem.
And we'll look forward to seeing everyone next time. Remember, though, for great hosting and plans and support, we couldn't do this without thanking Aussie Tech Kids Web Hosting. Visit their site for all of the things about getting some decent web hosting at athwebhosting.com.au.
Yep.
Until next episode, Shayne, thank you very much, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.